Sit and Knit with Vivette, take 3. Hello everyone, it's Vivian. Welcome to episode 14 of Sit and Knit with Vivette. My name is Vivian and I'm coming to you on Monday the 2nd of March from a reasonably sunny but still quite miserable Monday morning here in the UK. For those of you that are new, and we have had some new subscribers, so thank you very much for subscribing to my channel and welcome to my little podcast. My name is Vivian and I live in Essex in the United Kingdom with my partner Shawl and Bonnie the cat. This podcast is mainly about what I've been making over the past month, anything that I've got coming up and various bits and bobs. So hello to my new viewers and hello and welcome back to all my existing viewers, and I'm glad you've come along to see what I've been making this month. So January I felt did actually drag a bit. I think everyone feels that January drags, but February flew by and I can't believe that we are already in March. So without further ado, let's get on to what I've been making. So for this month I have no finished objects on knitting, which I know some of you will find absolutely unbelievable, but no finished objects. But I do have lots of whips, so I shall show you those now. My first whip is actually a test knit that I'm doing for Mina Phillip, who is the knitting expat on social media. Now she is happy for us to show this because she has shown her version of it on her podcasts, and it's not a secret test knit as such. The pattern is due to be released in April sometime, but I don't know the exact date, so just keep an eye out for it and I will post a link to it when I have finished. So this is called the Igneous Sweater. I can't show you any photos of the completed object because we haven't been given any with the pattern, just the written version, but I will show you what I've done so far. Now it's going to look slightly weird because I've split for the shoulders, so it's not hanging beautifully on the needles. So this is it so far. So as you can see, it's got a pattern at the bottom that then reduces as you go further up the front, and I'm just finishing off the left part of the thing. It is a round neck, but it's a low round neck similar to this one, and then you just finish off up the shoulders, and then the pattern is all around the back as well. So it's not, I can't show you too much detail again because it's still a test knit, but that's just the pattern now that you can see. And the yarn that I'm using is Chromatic Yarns, who is the Hannah from Corner of Craft is the dye behind Chromatic Yarns. You can tell it's Monday morning because my words aren't flowing. And this is in her Spirit Guardians colourway. It's lovely. This is her merino base and it is so soft. Absolutely so soft to work with. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I can show you it caked up because I have one that's caked up. So you can see it like that. It's beautiful. Beautiful. So soft to work with. So yeah, so that is my first whip. Let's just put that down. My second whip is another jumper, which is probably why I haven't got so much finished, because I've been working on large garments at the moment. And this is another colourways of Hannah's, who's Chromatic Yarns. And I did talk about this briefly in my last podcast because I just cast on. So I'm doing a drift sweater, and the photo is here. Oh, excuse me. So that's the photo there. But I'm actually doing a short sleeve version. I'm not doing long sleeves on it. And I'm using 3 of Hannah's colourways that I've had in my stash for a while, and I decided to do a faded version. And I'm just, as you can see, I've just started the 3rd one, and I've got another maybe 5 or so inches before I do a split hem on the bottom. So the top colourway, which has got the eyelet section in it, is called Merry Christmas. Then the middle section, which is got all the lovely pops of pink and turquoise and orange, and that is called Abominable Gingerbread Man. And then the bottom colourway, which is the brown, which I'm on at the moment, is called Something Autumnal. And again, this is on Hannah's merino base, and it's so soft, so soft. And I just love, so like for example, that, look at those colours popping out there, absolutely lovely. So I'm doing a short sleeve version because I want something to wear in springtime, and I've got quite a few long sleeve jumpers, so that's my other thing that I've been working on. So those 2 have taken up quite a lot of my time, which is why I don't have any knitted objects, knitting that is finished objects basically. So I have been working on some other things, some smaller projects, and I will show you those now. So as you will remember from my previous podcast, I went to Suffolk Socks retreat at the end of February, and I'll talk more about that towards the end of the podcast. But for some train knitting, I cast on some socks. So these are them here. So it's just a toe-up sock, vanilla sock, and then I'll put an afterthought heel in. The colourway is the purple at the bottom is an Invicta, Sheepy's Invicta, which I use as a lot of my heels, toes and cuff because they're really sturdy. That's a really good sock, along with Drops Fable is another one where you can buy them in 50-gram balls and you can use them for coordinating. It's not rough, but it's substantial. It really will work. And the colourway here is Julie's of Suffolk Socks. It's her Socks in the Box range, and it's the Espadrille colourway. And I just love it for the purples and the greens and how well it goes with this. And the stitch marker is one of my little stitch markers that I've made and that are now available in my Etsy shop, and again I'll talk about those later. But this is on a merino nylon base in a very, very, very soft knit. So yes, so I'm just working through those, and that's what it looks like caked up. So you can see it's got all these lovely greens and purples, and again very nice knit, very relaxing, and as it's vanilla I can do it in front of the TV. The idea was to knit on the train, but the way that my ticket printed out, I ended up having to change trains 3 times to get to Ipswich, and I just was like, every time I got my knitting out I had to keep an eye out on the next station, so I didn't get great done. But I did do a lot of the retreat, and I have done some since. So that's that. So my next whip are my car socks that I have again put some work into. So these have been on the needles for a while now, because like I say, I only do them when I'm waiting. So I finished the first one, just ready to put the afterthought heel in. This is King Cole Zigzag in their berries colourway. So that's the first one, and I'm at this point on the second one. So I haven't got much more to do, and then I will split and put the afterthought heel in. As you can see, I did cake this and it is unravelling. So I now know not to cake commercial yarn because it doesn't like it. But yeah, so that's just a little bit more, and I should have those finished by the end of the month. So I should have some finished objects for April. Here's hoping. My next whip is another pair of socks. And it is living in one of my only finished objects, although it's not a knitted finished object. So these are a half object, she says, dropping it. And these, you may remember I was knitting some tubes, West Yorkshire spinners in the mallard, to put socks, heels and toes and cuffs in. These are going to be for Shawn, and I put an afterthought heel in, and I did the afterthought heel as a workshop at the retreat that I went to with Ellie of Craft House Magic. Normally when I do a afterthought heel, I always put a lifeline in, but I now have the confidence after Ellie's wonderful workshop to just do it without putting a lifeline in. So this is the one that we did at the class, and I've literally just cast off yesterday the other sock, and I am going to put the next afterthought heel in. But what I've done is I've ordered some higher sharps, because up until now I've been doing most of my sock knitting on Knit Pro Zings, and I like them, don't get me wrong, I like them, but I've worked out they're not sharp enough for afterthought heels. So when you're picking up stitches, they're not that sharp, and it gets a bit splitty. So I'm going to hold off putting in the second heel until I get my higher sharps, and then I can actually use a sharper needle to pick up the stitches once you've cut the yarn, which I think will be better. But no, so now I'm after doing, and she also gave us a lovely little handout as well, so I have the instructions to refer to. I'm going to be quite confident just putting afterthought heels in now without having to put lifelines in, even on hand-dyed yarn. So this is commercial, so it's quite what I call a sticky yarn, in that the stitches don't run. But Ellie said it's just as simple to do on a hand-dyed yarn, and if the stitches do run, it's not going to take you too much to pick them up because it's only 1 or 2. And I must admit, a couple of these did run when I cut it, and as Ellie said, it was just really, really easy to pick them up. So as I said, these are actually living in my only finished object, and I shall show you that now. So you may remember last year, around about September I went on a course to do loom weaving, and I wove a piece of fabric and I showed you it in October, November. Well, since then I have spent a lovely afternoon with Claire, and we have turned it into a project bag. She did make a pouch, a smaller pouch, as a sample so that she could get an idea of how to do it, and since then we've actually made the bag together. So this is the yarn. So the yarn at the top is West Yorkshire Spinners in their Essential DK, and then I teamed it with a Countess of Blaze from the If I Want Exposure I'll Get My Tits Out collection. And the lining that I've done is I've done a bright orange lining to pick up the orange in here. So it's quite a long pouch, but that's because of the way that I wove the yarn. So what I would do next time is I'd probably weave a slightly shorter version so it doesn't have to be quite so long. But my socks fit in it, it works lovely. And I have now a project bag of my own hand woven fabric, which is lovely. So that's that one. And my final whip is another pair of socks, and this is living in another bag that I've recently acquired. And this is a beautiful bag, and this bag was from Ellie of Craft House Magic, and it was part of the welcome package that we received when we arrived at the retreat, and I should talk about that more in a minute. But this is one of the bags that she made everybody a bag as part of our welcome gift, which I think is absolutely lovely, and she made it in my colours. So Ellie, thank you very much for that. And living in it is a shawl, and it's a shawl that I've designed. It's called the Kingfisher shawl. This is about the third one that I've made, and I'm doing it, as you can see. So this is just the start of it. It's quite a big shawl. I'll show you a finished one in a minute. So this is it. Hang on, let's get it out the right way. That might help, mightn't it? So this is what I've done so far, and this colourway is called Kissing in the Back Row, or Kissing in the Back Seat, and it's a reference to the title of a record by the Drifters in 1975. So I think it's called Kissing in the Back Row, and this is it in the ball. And this is by Julie of Suffolk Socks, who's the hostess of the retreat. So it's living in Ellie's bag, and this yarn by Julie of Suffolk Socks. And again, I have another one of my little progress keepers on there. So this is quite a simple garter stitch shawl, and then you add eyelets to it. And the eyelets I'm going to add, I'm going to be in a second skein of yarn, and the yarn that I'm going to use for that is going to be this yarn here, and this is called Ordinary World, which is a Duran Duran hit from Ellie, and I picked this up whilst I was at the retreat. She very kindly put it aside to me because I think it picks up the grey really well in this, and then I can do the second section with the eyelets in it in this colour, so it'll be quite a big shawl. So I'm going to then enter this into Ellie's retro mail that she is hosting at the moment, which runs to the end of March, because it's anything retro. So I think having a reference to a 70s song and a reference to an 80s song is retro enough to actually be able to enter it. So this again is on her merino cashmere nylon base, which is what the other one is on as well. So this is going to be such a lovely scrumptious shawl to wear. So that's lovely. So as I said, this is a pattern that I designed myself 3 or 4 years ago now, but I've never ever released it because I did feel that, you know, with a lot of patterns, some of them are so similar, someone's going to say, well, you copied mine, whereas actually it's bits that I've taken from different things that I've made and really liked. But whilst I was at the retreat, I was talking to some of the ladies about it, and they said, well, yes, actually, you know, that happens across the knitting world, because knitting is, when you think about it, it's garter and purl stitch. So there is only 2 technical stitches. So somewhere along the line, you are going to copy something because you knit through the back loop, or you make one or something like that. So as long as you're not completely replicating somebody else's pattern, there will be elements that will be the same in everybody's pattern. So I am going to release this pattern, but I'm going to release it with a difference. So first of all, let me show you what the finished object looks like. The good thing about this pattern is there are so many variations that you can make. So this is the very first one that I made, and it's called the Kingfisher shawl. And the reason it's called the Kingfisher shawl is because I knit it out of Industrial Kingfisher by Stranded Dye Works, which is this one. So it starts off with an eyelet, she says, dropping it, with an eyelet section at the beginning, and then you have the option that you can either continue the eyelets all the way along, or you can do a garter section, which is what I then did, and then you can just put eyelets there back in towards the end. Now, can you spot the deliberate thing that's happened with this one? When I knitted this was when I very first started getting hand dyed yarn, and everyone said, oh, you got to alternate skins, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And you can see where I didn't alternate skins, because one is definitely a lot lighter than the other one, but as it's a shawl, I really don't mind. But this is the original pattern, is like eyelets at one end, garter section and then eyelets at the other. But like I say, you could do eyelets all the way through. I've subsequently done 2 or 3 different versions of this, and another version that I have is this one here, where it's just garter at the beginning as far as you want to go, and then I put eyelet sections in at the end. And this one was knit in lace weight and is absolutely humongous. It's longer than my actual arm span, but I like my shawls long, so like I say. So how I'm going to release this pattern is that one of the lovely ladies at the retreat is a lady called Helen, and she unfortunately suffers from a condition called mysostosis. I'm going to put it at the bottom because I don't think I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but she raises funds for this research into this condition. So I'm going to release the pattern price it at £2 for the pattern, and £1 from each of the sales will go towards this charity so that they can fund more research into this condition and hopefully come up with a cure or some preventative things. So I will eventually put it on my Etsy shop, but I've got to work out how to do that first. So if you want it in the meantime, what I can do is I will put my email address in the description bar down below along with the show notes, and if you want to order it, you can send me an email, we can sort out a payment, and then I can then email you across the pattern. But eventually it will go on my Etsy shop, but you might have to wait just until I've worked out how to upload it and stuff like that. So like I say, I'm going to sell it for £2 for the pattern, but £1 from each sale will be added to all the other sales, and then I will send a donation to this charity called again, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Myositis UK, that fund research into this condition. So that's how I'm going to release the pattern, and I hope that it makes sense. So talking about the retreat, before we get on to the retreat, I've got one more whip to show you, and this is not knitting related anyway, but I've been doing some cross stitch. So you may remember that I showed you my cross stitch a while back of the sampler that I'm doing for my craft room, and I'd only done 1 square. So now out of it I've actually done 3 squares. Excuse me. So the first square that I did was the sewing machine, which was the central square, and since then I've done the one above it and the one to the left of it. And this little thing here is one of my needle minders. I sell these in my Etsy shop again, and it just literally has a couple of magnets on it so that you can keep it pinned on to your thing. So that's what I've been doing, and I'm trying to do at least an hour's cross stitch a day just to keep on top of it, otherwise I fear that this sampler will never get finished. But I'm really enjoying it now. Now that it's lighter, it's much easier. So that is my finished projects and whips. So now let's talk about the retreat. I had an absolutely fabulous time. So we was there went Monday, came back on the Thursday, so it was 3 nights. Really, really lovely. It was in Ipswich, which is in Suffolk, which isn't too far from me, and it was a fabulous bunch of people. Really, really lovely. And as I say, when we arrived, we had a lovely welcome pack from Julie and Ellie and Emma, who organised it. So the first thing, like I say, was this lovely bag that Ellie had made, one for each of us. And we also had a beautiful Emma Bridgewater mug, all of them different designs, so we all had slightly different ones. And we also had 3 of Julie's patterns that are available on her website. And this one is the one that I actually tested it for her a while back. So yeah, so these are all available on her site, and I will put links to everything down in the down bar, as they say. And we also had we had some stitch markers to go with it. We had some just little bits and bobs, some lip balm and that sort of thing. So it was a really, really lovely welcome gift. I mean, you know, for Ellie and those to make the bags and to source the mugs and everything is really, really lovely of them. That's more than what I had to do. But like I say, we had a lovely, lovely time. Really relaxing. It was held in a 15th century, I don't know if you call it, townhouse, something like that. It's called the Old Neptune Inn, but it's right on the marina in Ipswich, which is lovely. And I suspect I haven't done enough. I will be. It's words again. I will read up on it, and I think it probably had something to do with trading in and out of the marina, offloading goods and exports back in the day, so I suspect that's the case. So whilst we was there was lots of knitting done, copious amounts of tea done. We had a chef come in and prepare the food every night, so we had absolutely fantastic food, and there's just buffet lunch and more food than you could eat. And we just had a lovely time. It had a big roaring fire. It was great. I have got some photos, and I'll put those in at the end of a bit of a slideshow. Now, I didn't take huge amounts of photos, purely because I was having far too much fun and relaxing to actually think to get the camera out. But one of the things that we did do whilst we was there was we did a couple of workshops. So the first one I talked about was the Afterthought Heel one, where Ellie showed us how to put in an Afterthought Heel. And the other one that we did was with Emma, who is the dyer behind Serene Yarns. And we did Dorset buttons. And any of you that have been following my Instagram for the past couple of days will have found out that I've become totally addicted to these Dorset buttons. So this is the one that I made at the workshop with some variegated yarn. And since I've been home, I've made 2 more, because I was looking in my utility room because I thought, oh, I must have some brass ring of some sort somewhere, and I found a box of old curtain rings where we changed the curtains and the curtains didn't fit the rings and all the rest of it. So, and since then I've made 2 more. So this is the first one that I made using some DK yarn just to see what it would look like, and it was just some leftover DK that I had. And then this is the one that I finished last night, which I did using a variegated yarn. And I'm really pleased with how they've come out. They're really, I mean, it is very addictive. I did do some research, and Dorset buttons dates back to the 18th century and how they were used as buttons. And Emma, who was one of the lady that taught us the workshop, she had a lovely cardigan on there where she'd actually had buttons down for the cardigan. So that is something that I'm now going to knit. It's called the Macaulay cardigan, and I'll put a picture up here somewhere, or it could be over there. And I'm going to knit it purely so that I can put Dorset buttons on it. I do need a cardigan. I haven't got many knitted cardigans, but I'm going to knit it in this West Yorkshire Spanners Essential DK, because I've got a bag of 10 of these, because somebody was having a D-stash sale and they were selling 10 balls for £8, and I was like, I'm having that, because 10 balls for not £8 each, but £8 for the whole bag. Why wouldn't you? And I'm going to find a cream or pale grey to go with it, and then I'll do the buttons in the grey to go with it. So it's called Macaulay, as in Macaulay Culkin cardigan. The only thing I will say about the cardigan, the pattern only goes up to a size 46. So it's not completely size inclusive, but I don't intend to do it up anyway, because I'm only wearing it so I can demonstrate my buttons. So that will be my next cast on once I've got everything else off the needles. So whilst we was at the retreat, there was also a makers market on the Wednesday afternoon, and I took along some of my stitch markers and button markers and scissor fobs and things like that, and they sold well, and I'm really pleased with that, so thank you to all of those that bought. And I also indulged a little bit as part of the makers market. Now, I did say that I wasn't going to buy any yarn this year except when I was at the retreat, so I haven't broken any promises. I haven't broken anything. I've just bought what was at the retreat. And I bought 3 skeins. First one was the Ordinary World one that I just showed you to go with the shawl that I'm making. And the second one was also from Ellie, and it's this one here. It's got some stellina in it, and it's neutral with just some blues and pinks and pops. And this one is called China in Your Hand, which is another 80s reference by T'Pau. You can tell I like my 80s music. And this one I'm going to team with Ellie's minis that I have. So I got for Christmas, as part of my Christmas present, Shawn treated me to her 12 days of Christmas Advent, which is like 12 minis, 12 10-gram minis. So I'm going to coordinate it with these, and that will probably be another shawl. I haven't decided what it's going to be yet, but I was looking for a skein, 100-gram skein to go with it, and this will go with it perfectly because it's quite neutral and it's got different pops of colour, so it'll mix lovely. So that's what that one's for. The other thing that I got was another skein of yarn. Excuse me. And this one is this one here. It's called Raspberry Kisses, and this is by Emma, who's the Dorset button lady who showed us the workshop. She runs the yarn company Serene Yarns. So it's super washable, 75% wool, 25% nylon, and 400 metres fingering weight. I just love the colour. I do love the colour. I have no idea what this is going to be yet. it will sit until the perfect project comes along. But that's what I bought. So that was my purchases. So I didn't do too bad at the market. I also bought a sock pattern from Helen, who was the lady that I was just talking about. And I shall show you a picture of it on Ravelry. This is a, she had some of these socks here that she was knitting on them. And this was a pattern that she's released. And again, excuse me, a percentage of the proceeds go towards funding research into this disease. So I shall just pull you up a picture of it on my Ravelry, because she I haven't actually got around to printing it off yet, but that's going to be my next sock pattern that I do. So that is the socks there, and that's the pattern name as well. So that is how I'm going to, that's the next ones that I'm going to try and do. It's just using a slipstick mosaic type pattern, so it's not difficult. So yeah, inverse striation sock. So I'm going to do that one. That'll be another cast on. And that was the only other thing that I purchased in the market, because I was being very restrained and we had lots of goodies, and I had to bring stuff home as well in my suitcase on trains, so I didn't splash out. But the final thing that I did get from the knitting retreat, other than having a wonderful time and looking forward to the next one, was we did Julie did a prize draw at the end, so everyone got a little like thank you gift effectively. And I got this beautiful notebook, which to me looks like knitting stitches. And this will now become my podcast notebook. So I'll go all professional and have podcast show notes, as they say. But I wanted to show you it before I opened it up, so while it was still in pristine condition. So that was my gift. So again, I had a really lovely time. Thank you to Julie, Emma and Ellie for organising it and putting on such a great time. Thank you to all the lovely people that I met there and new friendships that were made. It was wonderful. And that is all that I have for the moment. So like I say, I'm going to put lots of show notes down the bottom, some photos now of the retreat so you can have a look at what we got up to. And thank you for spending some time with me. I know I appreciate it's been a little bit longer this month, but thank you for spending some time with you. Take care, and I'll catch up with you all at the end of the month. Bye for now. Bye bye.